Hey teachers, Assalamu alaikum. Hope you're doing well. I had wanted to share three risky things that I had tried in class the other week. These three things were number one, giving instructions in French only. Number two, having a halaqah or circle component. And number three, reducing teacher workload. Now, you might be wondering, why did I decide to move out of my comfort zone? And it was actually for a school assignment, a course that I was taking on innovation in curriculum planning. Now, as I share with you what I was doing, I may have some text rich slides that I'll be sharing, and I won't be reading off of them, of course, but feel free to pause or speed up or slow down this video as required. So here's a quick overview of what I did to get out of my comfort zone in the middle of February, in the middle of a pandemic. So as I mentioned, it was for a course assignment, and the point was, take these risks because if you give yourself the freedom and safety to fail in small doses, it could build your confidence. It could grow you as an educator. It may help you see other possibilities. And you know what? To be honest, you all are risk takers as teachers. We all are. And this is something that we are familiar with. But this was just an opportunity for me to be a little bit more explicit about what risk taking I was doing. How was it risky? And was I really moving out of my comfort zone despite potential judgment from students, teachers, and administrators and parents, and doing it during a pandemic. So, as I mentioned, there were three things that I was working on: instructing in the target language, doing community circles or halaqah formats, as well as maintaining a healthy teacher workload for the good of my mental health and my students. And then I reflected on basically what worked, what didn't, and what to do next. So, and here's the messy version of that. So basically, in terms of giving instructions in French only, this was something that was required of the program that I was using in particular. It is not necessarily common to all French teaching programs, but I had kind of retreated into the safe zone. But yep, it got messy. I had to basically pretend it was like September again in the middle of February and come up with a whole bunch of new strategies, which worked somewhat, and some of them didn't. But I was happy with the result, and here are some of the strategies that I used. And then, in terms of including a halaqah, I wanted to sort of go back to our tradition of the halaqah, but also the tradition of just having a learning circle, which is something very popular amongst teachers. Use this as a safe zone for the students to practice their assignments. So there was a task, a comprehension task that I had assigned for this week, and to practice my three risk-taking activities within them. And it was the first day. We had no idea what we were doing. We were all, it was not a circle. It was not a learning circle, and it wasn't safe. But we kept trying. We kept trying. And their patience, my patience together, we had some successes. And then finally, reducing teacher workload. So the interesting thing about reducing teacher workload is that sometimes we feel like we have to burn out, and there's a culture of of basically overachieving for what though. And interestingly, there's an article that I came across, and I'm sharing it in the resources, that basically talks about reducing teacher workload helped improve student outcomes. And this school, they instituted a no marking policy. They even got the parents on board, and they basically would do live in class marking. And this is something, live tracking, that I've been trying to do. And the other thing was just going old school, using clipboards to live track, and also using sticky notes to plan forward. So those are a few things that I worked on, and and not worrying too much about perfection. And then the question was, did I grow? Did I benefit? Was I building my capacity? Was I building my skill set? I definitely grew in humility, and my students were awesome. I realized that routines are so important before you can institute a new strategy, and time and patience, and you guys, wonderful colleagues who I could just talk to in the hallway and be like, how do you guys make a circle again? And and also creating opportunities for reflection on my practice. And this is where I now turn it over to you and I ask you guys, what does your risk taking look like? As risk takers, as educators, what does it look like, and how do you learn and benefit from that? And do you feel confident about taking risks? And share with me what you've learned. I have some of the resources listed here that I had used for my risk taking activities that you can definitely check out by going to this link, tinyurl.com risky resources. And I hope you enjoyed the ride. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.